Hey, it's Korinn, 365 days of open heart living. Today is day number 110, changing tides. In life, we all go through times that are more difficult, and we go through times that are more enjoyable. There is not ever, a time that the tide isn't ebbing and flowing. Maybe in certain areas we can go through a long period of having joy or a long period of having difficulty, but eventually the tide does change over and flips into the other of challenge or of enjoyment. There is purpose in this because in the ebb and flow of life, we are encouraged and stimulated to grow. We are encouraged and stimulated to also have times to relax when it's an easier time. So there's purpose in the ebb and flow, the changing tides. You know, life is very cyclical, right? We go through cycles every month, we go through cycles every year, we go through cycles in a day, like in a 24-hour span. And in fact, that phrase the changing of the tide, that comes from the actual event that occurs in a 24-hour span, that the tide shifts and changes. In the ocean, when the tide is coming in to high tide, all of that momentum of the ocean, the waves are being carried towards the land. But when the tide shifts and changes, all of that, which was momentum towards the shore, shifts and now moves out back to sea, and it becomes low tide. The same is true in life. Sometimes things are going in our direction, in our favor, and then things shift and they move back out, and we feel like, maybe that goodness is slipping away. Things are lowering in the level of enjoyment or in what we're getting from life at those times. But it's always going to shift back, right? That's the important thing to note in this, is that when the tide changes, and it will, your life will shift. So if you feel you are in a flow where heaviness is coming in to your life and you need it to let go and be ebbed back out into feeling less in your face, less on your plate, it will. It's coming. It will shift. If you feel like you have so much goodness in your life right now, and you feel like things are just going your way, and that the goodness is coming in and it's just, covering over your life in a beautiful way, that is something to behold. But we can't hold on to it because it will shift too. And that intensity of enjoyment and goodness, it will ebb away. And that intensity will become lower, because that is the nature of life. The ebb and the flow creates balance, creates momentum when the wave comes in, bringing goodness or maybe struggle. And when the wave goes out, taking away goodness or struggle. There's the ebb and a flow, and the balance of it coming in and going out is how we refresh. Because 1 minute, because the state that we're in is not continual. We must ebb and flow and grow in it as well. When the tide is out, there's more of us exposed. And when the tide is in, there's more of us covered over. So there are two different opportune times of having time of self-exposure and having time of feeling like being covered over. Being covered over by potentially a lot of stress, or being covered over in a comfortable way and feeling like we are cared for. Being uncovered in a way that allows us to feel how we are inside. If we are in a low tide of not having the struggle or not having that level of enjoyment in life that we had, then it uncovers us into a space of self-awareness that we then can discover ourselves a little bit more and maybe make some decisions or some choices that could affect how quickly the tide changes and what is brought in with that changing tide. So I wanted to look up changing tides and get a little bit more insight into what exactly happens. Why is that something that happens on the earth? That the tides change, they come in and they go out. And what I read was that the tide comes in and it goes out twice of each over a 24-hour period, right? I'll just read what I found and share that with you. When tides change, sea levels rise and fall, a cycle primarily driven by the moon's gravitational pull, the moon, with the sun also playing a role. The moon and the sun working together and affecting the body of the water on the earth, which is the sea. They're playing a role causing too high and too low tides roughly every 24 hours. So the thing that stuck out to me about that is that there are cosmic forces affecting the tides change. And I think that that is something to also consider in your life when you're feeling low or you're feeling high, that there are cosmic forces at play that are creating those inflows of goodness or the inflows of challenge. Likewise, creating the outflows of goodness and the outflows of challenge. And the cosmic forces are bigger than what we can control. And so sometimes it's helpful to just trust in the tide that we're in, to trust that those cosmic divine forces are working in our life in a way that will benefit us in the long run, with the ebb and the flow of the changing tides of life. My kids are outside riding a four-wheeler with a sled behind it. Take a look at my kids. That's awesome. So, a little distracted there. But the thing that helps, no matter what tide you're in, high or low, or whether you're in a time of changing tide and things are shifting in your life, the thing that helps is studying yourself in meditation. because the more steadiness that you can have and feel, the less those changing tides are going to tip you off balance and have a negative, lasting effect on what the tide is bringing or taking in your life. And the simple meditation to steady and balance yourself so that you have more stability is just the inner breath, feeling your breath. So no matter if you're in a time of having change and having a change of tide in your life, or if things are high or things are low, practice this at any time and it will benefit you no matter where you are, and being able to weather those tides, go with the flows of the changing waters in your life, so that the ride may be that much smoother for you. I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes. Taking a nice, deep, relaxing breath. Your breath is your grounding space. You feel your breath and you feel your body, and that connects you and grounds you into your personal space that is your body here on this earth. Feeling the breath, feeling the steadiness that is within you when you are connected in awareness to your breath. Just simply resting your attention on your breath as you experience the breath moving in and the breath moving out, just like a changing tide. As your breath moves in and your breath moves out, it steadies you in its rhythmic movements, ebbing and flowing, mirroring the changing tides in your life in such a way that by turning inward to your breath and its ebb and flow, it gives you an inner strength, builds presence and awareness to withstand any ebb or flow in your life. In the changing of any tide you may go through. Feel the changing tide of your breath and feel how this simple practice steadies you. And feeling yourself in the steadiness, you learn that you have the power within you to withstand any change of tide in your life, because all you ever need to do is turn inward and study yourself. Feeling your breath, experiencing, connecting with your inner sense of yourself, your personal power center for resilience, for stability, for strength. Connecting with your inner self and feeling the breath can be the very thing to change the tide within you. When you're ready, open your eyes. Your time will come. Your time is coming. And you, my dear, can be a part of changing the tide for yourself. May you live